That may be the least fun thing I've ever done. Actually, I had fun.
Andy becomes the third or maybe fifth wheel, which results in some ANDI time. So let's break down Season 3, Episode 5 of Andy Mack and find out just what happened. Rise and shine on, you lovely people. Lisa here with your weekly dose of Andy Mack. Now, before I move on, just in case, by chance, you haven't gone to my channel and seen the latest interviews with Joshua Rush, Asher Angel, Peyton Elizabeth Lee, and Sophia Wiley that I did at the Looking Ahead Awards, you can check those out. I'll have a link pop up here, and they'll also be down in the description. But subscribe so you don't miss any of my, interviews when they happen. Also, in that interview, Joshua Rush gives a tiny tease about a blonde boy that we saw in the Season 3 trailer, which actually just so happens to come into play next episode, not this episode. So before we can even get there, we gotta break this one down. So I feel like the main thing that this episode deals with, which is very relatable, I think we've all gone through something like this, is kind of what happens when you start to make friends outside of your core group of best friends. It's definitely something natural that happens as you progress. Even when you change schools or go off to college, you're gonna meet new friends. Your time is going to, change with who you're hanging out with all the time. Your best friend may go get another best friend who's not, your best friend, but it doesn't mean you two aren't best friends, if that makes sense. But even so, when you're young, something like that can cause, bits of jealousy, the feeling of FOMO, being left out and stuff. So that's what I feel like the main thing that's kind of relatable in this episode is. So let's go ahead and talk about it all. Before we can get to that drama though, we have to talk about our other two storylines. So that kid Sean, who is getting guitar lessons from Bowie, is back, and well, the lessons still aren't going well, and it's causing Bowie to think he may be the problem, that maybe he can't teach. He's not good at it. Well, finally Bowie tells Sean, he just can't do it anymore. And that's when Sean finally confesses he doesn't even want to play guitar. It's his dad who wants him to. So they decide they finally need to sit Sean's dad, Victor, down and tell him the truth. Well, Sean kind of chickens out at coming clean, so Bowie finally has to say, your kid doesn't want to play the guitar, and Victor's like, no, yeah, he does. So Sean finally does confess, and we learn it's a case of, a dad trying to make his kid do something he wanted to do as a kid but never got to do. He also thinks maybe he's too old to learn now, but Bowie informs Victor he's not. You're never too old to learn, and Bowie can teach him. And what do you know? Victor actually is a pretty good student, and Bowie gets his confidence back, his belief in himself that he can teach. On the wedding front, Cece still wants to do all these big things. It sounds like she's gonna do this, big reception. Bex basically wants no part of it because she knows it's not for her, it's for Cece. And Cece wants to go pick out cakes, but Bex is like, no, I'm not making that decision. You can go make it. So Cece enlists Andy to go with her, and after tasting a ton of cakes and suffering from major sugar high, Cece and Andy start bickering because they can't figure out which one cake they want, and they realize why Bex didn't want to come do this in the first place. So these two take their choices home and still try to make Bex make a decision.
What is she doing?
I'm making a decision. That one.
Well, Andy's actually pretty happy because it ends up being Andy's cake. But Bex, of course, doesn't know which one she picked, and in the middle of the night, she's, got a little bit of a midnight snack hunger, and what better way to fill that than with some free cake? So she sits down and tastes both of these cakes, and it looks like she actually does prefer one over the other, and she's like, you know what, I hope I picked this cake. And the one that she's hoped she picked is, in fact, Andy's chocolate cake. So she did pick the cake. The universe is telling her this is what you should have picked. It's looking out for Bex if you think about it. But now, on to the drama of the episode. So Andy, Cyrus, Jonah, Buffy, and Walker are all hanging out at the lake. And while Cyrus and Jonah think Walker's a pretty cool dude, Andy, of course, doesn't want to talk about Walker, and she's upset because Buffy didn't give her a heads up Walker was even coming. And I feel like the look on Jonah and Cyrus's faces, they're just kind of like, how do we just politely back up away from this drama? When Buffy suggests they all go canoeing, Andy ends up being the odd one out since you have to pair up. Buffy goes with Walker and Jonah goes with Cyrus to kind of make sure Cyrus doesn't, drown in the lake. And it's kind of nice to see Cyrus and Jonah's friendship again. We haven't really seen that in a while. I know it's kind of been, overshadowed by Cyrus and TJ's friendship. I just like Cyrus's friendship with everybody, no matter what it is, platonic or not.
You're doing great, Cyrus. Look at us go. It's just you going. Huh?
So, as Andy watches from afar with FOMO making flower crowns by herself, she's surprised by Amber, who's actually at the lake as well, hanging out with her family. They end up pairing up to go canoeing, and Buffy tries to explain who Amber is to Walker, while Andy explains to Amber who the heck Walker is and this whole situation.
Amber is this girl who used to be mean to us, and she's still kind of mean, but now she's like our mean friend.
Friend is a strong word.
She's basically our waitress that we never order hamburgers from.
So you told Walker you were with Jonah and you couldn't see him anymore? And now Buffy, your best friend, is with him?
Not with.
Amber then teaches Andy about girl code, and while Andy does start to say she and Walker never really went out, Amber just butts in and is like, yes you did, there was something there, and now he's with your best friend, and it actually makes Andy think.
I knew something felt off.
Now you know what.
I mean, I thought I was the problem.
She's the problem.
And this is official. It's not just your interpretation.
Amber and Andy actually end up having a lot of fun together, and it seems like this is the start of seeing these two hang out a bit more. And I love how in their conversation, I'm a movie nerd, so there were some Fight Club and Titanic references in there, and I kind of love when they sneak fun little Easter egg of pop culture into the show. But moving forward, we end up seeing Buffy, Cyrus, and Walker hanging out at the food trucks, eating grilled cheese, which really made me want some grilled cheese because that is such a delicious thing. I wonder where the grilled cheese truck is right now. Anyway, Buffy and Cyrus are kind of wondering if they should text Andy to hang out with them, but Buffy thinks Andy wouldn't want to come because Walker's with them. And of course, the universe decides to make everything more awkward. You talk about Andy, Andy's gonna show up because Andy ends up walking up just then, actually seeming not fazed that these two are hanging out with Walker. This is a complete 180, right? Because usually Andy's pretty mad whenever she sees Walker with them. So they're kind of like, oh, we were just about to text you to come hang out, but then Amber walks up and Amber's like, you know, Andy, if you want, you can stay with them. But Andy doesn't want to. She wants to go to the lobster truck with Amber, and that's when those two head off.
I feel ditched.
But we didn't invite her in the first place.
No.
And thus ends this week's episode. Honestly, is it bad that I'm kind of not a big fan of this whole wedding planning storyline? I want Bex and Bowie to get married, but I just want the wedding to happen. Wedding planning or any kind of event planning in general stresses me out, so this whole plot line and CC and just stretching it out is stressing me out. I say let's just have kind of a fun rock and roll wedding and call it a day, right? And as far as this girl code drama, oh man. So I feel like there's always kind of this debate when this subject comes up. You have, bro code, girl code. Is it a thing? Is it not a thing? Does it make situations worse? Should you be able to tell someone who they like or not like? It's just it's just a mess no matter what way I feel like you look at it. I do kind of hate how Amber butted in though, because Andy sounded like she was starting to finally admit that she and Walker were never really anything more than, they hung out maybe once and were starting to be friends. But I also see why Amber would point out that maybe you did like Walker and somehow Buffy, should have known that and, shouldn't have, moved in on your man, or, what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I know what I'm trying to say. But what Amber doesn't know is probably the whole situation. I'm sure Andy did not confess to some of the things that happened, because we know that Buffy did go through the steps of, finding out if Andy was okay with the whole situation. Buffy said to Andy, if you're not cool with it, then I won't pursue it. But Andy lied and was like, I'm okay with it. And then all of a sudden she took it back and was like, I'm not okay with it. But then Buffy figured that Andy was okay with it because she told Walker she'd come to the place, and it's just a spiral of miscommunication, right? So the fact that Andy was just so gung-ho to jump on Amber's girl code train kind of angers me that she doesn't see that she was a big part of that whole miscommunication and the snowball effect that has happened, and this all could have, stopped with just a sit down and a powwow, probably. But ultimately, we're not going to get that, because then we would have no storyline. We would not tackle this subject, which obviously happens in teenagedom, in adultdom. It happens all the time. So I get why it's happening. As frustrating as it is, it's something that I think we have to see play out to know what to do kind of when we face those situations, in a sense, or what not to do. But all I know is that by season's end, I hope these kids just sit down, hash out their feelings, clear up these miscommunications, and become just a big, happy, super group of friends. Because right now, the whole world, in general, outside reality, is pretty crazy. And I go to the TV shows to kind of escape and breathe and get some relaxing. And this show's starting to stress me out. So I just want them all to be friends and have a kumbaya. Is that too much to ask? It might be. I don't know. But let's go ahead and see what drama is in store for us in the promo for next week. because we are dealing with Bowie's mom coming to town.
Mom!
Cookie! Let me fix you kids something.
What is happening?
They're lovies.
They're one of Cookie's specialties.
You two are really starting to scare me.
Mommy, we need help!
Bowie calling for his mommy just made me kind of bust out laughing so much because no matter how old you get, there's something about being around home or your mom or your dad, if you're a mommy's kid or a daddy's kid, you know, something that makes you revert back to being a little kid when you're in those circumstances. I kind of love it. Also, we got that blonde boy coming into play next episode as well.
Cyrus, wanna hang out with you and my friends? Hey, you made it!
You should see your face right now, bro.
You know what's in that bag?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I think you should too.
All right, so I know you Cyrus shippers will be happy because we're finally getting to see Cyrus and TJ hanging out, being friends without, you know, Buffy being around. But we're also going to meet TJ's friends, which I feel like are going to be way different from, you know, what we've seen TJ hanging out with before. We never really met TJ's friends, right? Except for, you know, his basketball buddies. This seems like something completely different. But what is in this backpack they mentioned? Now, in my interview with Joshua Rush, he said that there's a very important storyline happening for Cyrus as a result of this blonde kid. Now, I asked you guys for theories. You had a lot. A lot of you seem to think that maybe it would deal with Cyrus coming out publicly, or maybe even, you know, somehow TJ coming out, or Cyrus coming out to TJ. There's also, some of you thought maybe it would deal with homophobia. But the mention, they're like, did you see what was in the backpack, right? So that makes me think it could be something else, but how heavy would this Disney show go? I feel like they've shied away from the whole, you know, we're gonna make Cyrus our first openly gay character and then kind of not done a lot with him. There's been inklings. He has had some really big, you know, coming out storylines to his two friends and little tiny things like that, but then they've kind of put him on the back burner. So would they risk, or I don't even want to say risk, would they actually go that far? I feel like I'm talking about Degrassi. Degrassi, it goes there. If you know what I'm talking about, high five to you. But would Disney actually go, how far would they go? What kind of an important storyline are we talking about? In the backpack, could it be drugs? Could it be something scarier? I don't even want to think about, you know, guns or something being on a Disney show, but that's a very relevant topic, sadly, right now. Or something else? I don't know. There are so many thoughts and theories spinning around in my head because I just don't know what direction Disney would go with something like this when Joshua was saying it's a very important storyline. So what could it be? You know, what is in that damn backpack, guys? I don't know. I guess we're going to have to wait until the next episode to find out. If they're even going to tell us in the next episode, they'll probably leave us with a cliffhanger there. The show just leaves us with so many cliffhangers and then answers them like 10 episodes later. So who knows when we'll actually get our answer on that. But I want you guys to hit me up down in the comments with your thoughts and theories for this whole Cyrus storyline with Cyrus and TJ's friends and TJ. What do you think's in that backpack? What do you think this important storyline is going to be? Also, let me know your thoughts on this whole girl code situation. Do you like Amber and Andy hanging out more? Have you dealt with a similar situation when one of your best friends goes and makes another best friend that isn't your best friend? Let me know, and then if you want to see all those interviews I've been rambling about, you can click right over here, and they're also down in the description. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my Andy Mack updates, recaps, interviews, so we can come back and talk about what happens after that big Cyrus storyline is revealed. That's what it's for. Don't forget to subscribe. But as always, I'm Lisa, and thanks for hanging out with me and listening to me ramble. See you next time!